let me go on record on your show to say I will never, ever applaud Perry. I hate it. I hate it. I want somebody that I have to chase, or I want everybody chasing me.
How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. We are in the groove today. Kyle Petty stops by, gonna get his take on some of NASCAR's top young stars. I'm excited to see where else this conversation goes. Next month, Kyle Petty's annual charity ride across America is taking place, benefiting Victory Junction, a great cause. To learn more, you can click the top link down in the description below. I'll be sure to ask Kyle about it. I'm sure he'll have much more to say as well. So without further ado, let's bring him in. It is now my great pleasure to welcome to the show Kyle Petty. Thank you so much for being on. I know it's a busy time. How are you doing this afternoon?
I am doing grand, man. I'm doing grand. Just been doing some radio hits and some interviews to Nebraska. We're taking a ride to Nebraska, which is a big deal. Nebraska and Iowa. So these are two states that we have very little. These are flyover states, and I apologize to everybody in Nebraska and Iowa. But we're going to actually ride through those states, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited to ask you about, you got your charity ride coming up, obviously a great cause. I'll ask you more about that in just a few moments. But I actually want to get your take on a couple of current NASCAR topics and drivers. Actually, here, before we get to that, this is a special year. It's an exciting time for your entire family. You guys are celebrating the Petty family's 75th year in racing, many different generations of racers still going strong. What does this 75th anniversary mean to you?
You know what? I think it's really special. I am going to say that. I think if we're in the grocery business, it's special. If we had a family farm, it's special, man. To think that it was passed on from my grandfather to my father to myself and then to Adam. I think you look at anything that's 3 or 4 generations long, and this world today, when everybody wants instant gratification, I think that's a big deal. But when you look at and you go back to 49 and my grandfather running the first race. You go back to my grandfather running the first race at Daytona. My dad went in there so many times. I won a couple of races along the way, and then Adam come along. We just been here for a long time. There's been a lot of guys who have come through our shop too. Jake Elder, Steve Mill, Robin Pemberton, Tony Glover, guys that went on to have an impact in the sport in so many ways. And even today with Adam Stevens, he started with us. And at Petty Enterprises, here he is still winning races, and Darian Grubb, guys like that who started in our engineering department and got their foot in the door in NASCAR through Petty Enterprises. So I think that is those stories and those people are what the 75 years are about as much as it is our family, because it's how this organization and how the family has the tentacles that go out in every direction in the sport.
Yeah, touched a lot of lives, contributed to many different careers in the industry. No, it really is special for sure. But now, yes, I do want to talk about some current events. I actually heard you this week. You were on PRN, I believe, and I heard you compare William Byron, our most recent winner in the Cup Series, to Jeff Gordon. Not just because they both drive the 24 car, but obviously it's a lot deeper. I feel like William Byron, everything started clicking for him when he teamed up with Rudy Fugle in the NASCAR Cup Series. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, at least, but could this be the next like Jeff Gordon, Ray Everham combo? Maybe even like a Jimmy and Chad? Like, how far do you think this dynamic duo can go?
Okay, so I don't put Jimmy and Chad in that category. So this is gonna knock your socks off on that one. Sorry. I do put Ray. I put Ray and Jeff. I put guys like Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. I put Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Kurt Shelmerton. I put those guys. I put Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick. I put Kurt Busch with a number of crew chiefs that he's worked with. And what I mean by that, I've had this conversation with numerous other drivers where we know the story of Kyle Larson. He gets in a car and he drives the freaking wheels off of it. It doesn't make him different. He doesn't want to know what tires are on it. He don't want to know what the springs are. He don't want to know anything about it. Give him a steering wheel and a place to set, and by God, he's your guy. He's your guy. That's how simple it is. William Byron is not that type of driver. Jeff Gordon was not that type of driver. Neither was Kurt Busch or Kevin Harvick in recent years. These are franchise players. These are players that not only see the race car, they see the organization and they see where the race car can go. And they drive that bus. And that's what I'm talking about. I think Jimmy rode a lot of the time on the bus that Jeff had created. And because Jeff had built that to a place. Jimmy's a phenomenal race car driver in the same cut from the same cloth as a Kyle Larson. But Jimmy's not that guy to me with the technical knowledge that's going to move the ball. I think William Byron is that guy who has an understanding of the car mechanically and aero wise and is going to move that ball and does it at an early age and does it like Jeff Gordon at an early age. Kevin Harvick was that way. He carried Stewart Haas Racing for 3 or 4 years just on his back. He had no help with his teammates. They were riders. They weren't drivers from the bus standpoint. They were race car drivers, but not drivers from the bus standpoint. So I think there are franchise players, and that's almost a better way to put it is if I'm going to build a franchise, if I'm going to build a team, I'm going to build it with a William Byron. Okay, I'm going to go win races with Kyle Larson, but Kyle Larson's not a builder. He's a guy that's just going to come in and win a bunch of races. But when he leaves, if my car is not good and I don't have a guy with the talent of Kyle Larson, I'm not going to run. William Byron is going to leave the company in a better place.
That's a fascinating way to put it. No, I fully agree with that take right there. It's interesting to consider, a race team like an NBA basketball team. You need that star franchise player to put you over the top. Lots of great role players, even stars, but superstars make all the difference. Well, it kind of touched on what my next question was going to be. Speaking of Kyle Larson, you might have seen this today. He took part in the Indy 500 test this morning. When I looked up, he was second on the pylon, second fastest overall. I mean, like you said, he's a seat of your pants, can get in anything and go fast almost instantly. But where would you rank Kyle Larson all time amongst other talented race car drivers that you've seen or even raced against?
So I say this, and I've said this before, and I've been very, very blessed because I understand that I grew up with Bobby and Donnie Allison, with Buddy Baker, with David Pearson, with Richard Petty, and I saw those guys and saw AJ come in and ride. Listen, I'm old enough. I saw Dan Gurney win at Riverside in the 121 car. I've told that many times. I've never seen a Cup car with 3 numbers when I was 8 or 9 years old. And Dan Gurney was there, man. He wins a race, and it's like phenomenal. But I knew nothing about driving a race car and what talent was. So I can't go back that far. I can go back to Tim Richmond, probably the most talented race car driver that I ever saw. Just sit in it, drive it, Indy car, sprint car, super modified. I don't care. He could get it done. I think Kyle Busch is that same guy. Put him in anything, and he can go get it done. Kyle Larson is a special talent. And what I mean by that is I think and Tim came to Cup racing from Openville, from IndyCar, and found a home here. And Kyle has found a home here. He's not ventured out that far. So we really don't know what could Kyle Busch have been? What could Kyle Busch have done if he had come the route of a Kyle Larson or come a different route like a Tim Richmond or somebody like that? But I look at Larson, and he's a little bit different because not only do we talk about that he can drive it, we have to talk about that he can win it. He is the first guy, okay, and I'm going to say this, and Tony Stewart was the only other guy that I know of, but Tony had come from Open. So he had the advantage of going back to open wheel and having a shot at winning. But from a guy who has come the route that Kyle Larson has come, and yes, Kurt Busch went up there, and yes, John Andretti, and yes, we've sent other people up there, and people have come that route. But the fascinating conversation that revolves around Kyle Larson is he can go win it, and people are talking about it. They're not just talking about him going up there and putting in a solid performance. Just give it that good old college try, Kyle Larson. Just bring us something back. Make us proud here in the South with NASCAR. That's not it. Go up there and kick their butt. Go up there and win the race. And it's like you say, you look at the pylon and he's second. He backs that up. He backs that up every time he sits in a race car. So I think he's in that top. When I look at it, he's in that top 0.001% of great race car drivers who can do anything, anytime, and not only do it, but can win it.
Yeah, going to be fun to watch him at Indianapolis next month for sure. And if he does, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on him, but if he does win or runs top five, he'll be the favorite, I think, to win the Coke 600 later in the evening. He has the potential to, I think, break into that superstar status. Like we just watched the NCAA tournament. Caitlin Clark is a superstar,
Yeah.
the ratings through the roof. I think with this current era of NASCAR, we're still missing that superstar. There are stars
Oh yeah.
within the sport, but we don't have that superstar. And I guess my question for you, Kyle, is the next gen was applauded early on for parity. Everyone's equal, a lot of different winners. It's exciting. Anyone can win anytime. But do you feel like it's harder now with this car and this current just, I don't know, format or platform? Is it harder for superstars to emerge? And is that a good or a bad thing for the sport, you feel like?
So here's what I say, and I will listen. Let me go on record on your show to say I will never ever applaud parody. I hate it. I hate it. I want somebody that I have to chase, or I want everybody chasing me. I want Dale Earnhardt Sr. I want Richard Petty. I want Jeff Gordon. I want a guy out there that I got to chase that I can measure myself against. Right now, I measure myself against everybody, and everybody's the same. And they're not. Don't get me wrong. That's a paintbrush question. I mean, answer right there. But I think the car is absolutely positively a necessity, a step in the right direction from safety, from competition, from everything it brings us. It brings us the LA Coliseum. It brings us the streets of Chicago. It opens up so many different avenues for the sport itself. Now, what we have to do is take that car and take the product that we have, which is NASCAR, and what goes on the racetrack. That show has to be a better show. But some of our shows this year have been phenomenal. Daytona was great. Atlanta was great. We've seen some good stuff. You know what I mean? So I can't say that it's bad all the way through, but tweaks aren't going to fix it. Tweaks are not going to fix things. We got to swing a big bat. We got to make some changes to make some of these other tracks. We've talked about short tracks ever since this car came about. It's just not giving us what we want on a short track. But I go back and I ask the question, is it the car or is it the parity? Is it that all the cars can go out and run within 15 100s or 2/10 of each other? Listen, even on the highway, you got to have slow cars that run in the right lane, fast cars that run in the left lane. You have to have it to make traffic go. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. So if everybody runs the same speed, it just becomes a train. And that's what people are complaining about. Because when we go to Martinsville, when we go to some of these shorter tracks, we see the train effect. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it is. So I can't say that it's all the car. I can't say that it's all the tracks. I can't say that it's all the rules. I can't say that it's all of any one thing. I think you have to break it down. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get away from this overnight. But I do believe this, and I've said this. I think what we see with Denny Hamlin is phenomenal. Denny, listen, and I got my fingers crossed. I hope he gets to 60 wins. You know what I mean? I really want that kid 60 wins. I do. Kyle Busch gets to 60 wins. These guys are out there. Will we see guys that start today even get close to 60 wins? Will 60 to some of these drivers, will that be the new 200? Will that be the new 200 victories that Richard Petty, or the 100 victories that Pearson put up, or the 90 some that Jeff Gordon put up? These are numbers I don't think we're going to see. And for multiple reasons. A, parity, if you look at that. B, listen, if I was the only Hendrick car, maybe I could win 12 races a year. But I got 3 dang good teammates that are going to take wins away from me. So the organizations may win 10 or 12 races, but drivers aren't going to win those 10 or 12 races. And as we see drivers start to change their attitudes and move away from the sport in their late 30s or early 40s, will that number skew down? Is 36 going to be retirement age in the next 5 or 6 years? There's so many factors that will come into this. So how do you establish yourself as a superstar when you can only win 2 or 3 races a year? How do you establish yourself and separate yourself from the pack when you can only win 4 or 5 races a year? You've got to figure that out. You have to figure that out as a driver. And I think NASCAR, or the teams, have to figure that out, how to create superstars. We have a lot of phenomenal race car drivers in this sport. I'm telling you. And all of them aren't running up front. Let me tell you that. A lot of them don't get their due. They're great race car drivers, but we don't have superstar race car drivers. We just don't. And we've not had a superstar race car driver in a long time in the sport, the way I look at it. Somebody that just transcends the sport and can go do other things. I just don't, away from the sport, that brings eyes to the sport. I just don't see that. Kyle Larson could be that guy, but he would be that guy because of what he does away from the sport, okay, which is an oxymoron, okay? What he does at Indy, what he does at sprint cars, what he does on a dirt track brings eyes to NASCAR, which is like, okay, so LeBron James brings eyes to the NBA because he plays in a PGA tournament. You know what I mean? It just doesn't correlate. You know what I'm trying to say? It's a weird way of looking at it.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. No, yeah, you covered a lot there. I like that idea. The idea of 60 wins being the new 200 is very interesting. That's going to stick with me for a bit. I really appreciate you giving your take on some of those hot topics there, Kyle. I do want to ask you about the upcoming 2024 edition of the Kyle Petty charity ride across America, raising money for a great cause. I know this is also the 20th year of Victory Junction. So how special is this event, this whole cause to you personally?
Yeah, listen, it's phenomenal. Obviously we spoke earlier about the 75 years of our family in NASCAR. If not for COVID, this would be our 30th year of the charity ride, and 20 years of camp. Adam's been gone 24 years, so that opens that wound again to think about it, because it's such a blessing and so much joy to have a camp for 20 years. But at the same time, I know the reason for the camp, and I think when you look at it, as we look at the camp itself and the amount of kids that have come, they've come because of the donations of guys in NASCAR, of fans, of all those people. But the charity ride is the longest continuous donor to camp. We've been there from the very, very beginning. We started the thing in '95. The ride itself, we went to children's hospitals, and then we kind of shifted when Adam's accident happened to building the camp, and it has just been it's been phenomenal. It truly has. So to think that 28 years later we're still riding across country is crazy to me. And the funny part is, for this year, Kenny Wallace, Mike Wallace, Kenny Schrader, Herschel McGriff, 96 years old, Hall of Famer, Richard Petty, Rick Allen, Max Pappas, David Reagan. I mean, so many guys in the community go with us to make it happen too. So that's always special.
That's really awesome. And before we head out here, how can folks watching support either the cause in person or from home?
Yeah, well, you can go to KylePettyCharityRide.com to find out more about the camp, where we're going, the cities we're going to be stopping in, if we're coming close to you. That would be. And listen, if we're coming close to you, come out to the Holiday Inn parking lot, get an autograph from Richard Petty and all of us, because we're going to be out hanging out at night when we're there, our lunch stops or our fuel stops. Or you can go to victoryjunction.org and find out more about camp. And we've seen 125,000 kids have either come through the gate or been touched by the camp. We hopefully will see more and more kids. If you know a kid, if anybody's listening to this and knows a kid who can benefit from camp, please come to camp. It's totally free of charge. That's why the Kyle Petty Charity Ride goes out and does the things that we do, is to send more kids to camp.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Well, Kyle, it's been an honor to have you on the show. Great talking to you. Really appreciate your time and a great cause you guys are doing out there. Good luck with your latest edition of the Kyle Petty Charity Ride. Appreciate you being on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Once again, a huge thank you to Kyle Petty for being on the show. Again, click those top links down in the description below. Learn more about the charity ride, how you can support Victory Junction. All that information is right there just underneath this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. Busy week. In case you missed it, this morning I posted a brand new episode of Power Hour, my podcast with NASCAR driver Brennan Poole. Justin Haley stopped by there. A lot of great conversations this week. Go check that video out if you missed it. I will see you all again soon. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, folks.